Welcome everyone to Voices of Terminus, show number 5, with my always there co-host and fabulous friend Delinzia, and we are joined today by our newest addition to the show and to our guild, Merideus. Welcome, Merideus.
Thank you.
And we're here to talk with, we've got Kodiak as well, who's joining us, VIP pledge to Pantheon. Say hello, Kodiak.
Good afternoon.
So we are here to talk today about Pantheon Difference, Progeny System. It's been brought up in the last few weeks on Twitter and in the forums, what we think about it, and to kick it off, let's go and read off what is the Progeny System, because that's going to be one of the first questions. So the Progeny System, players will be able to retire high-level characters and then create their children as new characters, but these new characters, the Progeny, will have certain abilities, stats, etc., that make them slightly yet noticeable better than a completely brand new character, but not to the point that it unbalances things. So that's basically the general idea behind this, and we've brought up some questions to follow through. Do you want to go read through the questions now?
The questions.
Yep.
What does this mean?
Yep. So
will
we have.
I retire my character, or will my character die? What benefits will my child character have? What happens if I decide to create an entirely different class? How do you think the system should work? How close to realistic terms should this? Can I unretire my character?
So we brought up some questions basically that I think generally most of us would have. And before the show we were talking about it as well, and we had some interesting thoughts towards this. And we're going to go through the questions, and then we're going to bring up the forum and have a look at some of the reactions that people had in the forums towards this Progeny system. And anybody want to kick it off with how they think this system is? Is it good? Is it bad? What their general like or dislike is towards it?
I mean, I think it could be good. It could be a good thing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good thing. Probably not anytime soon. Like, I think it's going to be something that players are going to experiment with after we've experienced a lot of what Pantheon had to offer first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it can be hit or miss. I guess it depends on which direction they go with the system.
Yeah, it's gonna. I feel it should be. You know, it's a thing that's gonna have to be balanced out, not just as retire your character and make it just a pure character choice. It's obviously gonna impact other areas of the game as well to make it really work. Is the way I see it. I think it's a good idea, but I'm still a bit skeptical on how exactly this works, because this brings us on to the question, like, will I retire my character? Will my character actually physically die? And how would that be carried on like? Because if I get, I've spent so much time in this game with my character that I've created, and I hit the max level, and then I have the option to retire my character, will this automatically mean that I fall to death and create a completely new character from his leftovers? But I kind of like, you're going to grow to love your character, and to necessarily have him have to die is a thing that I would not technically like to have as a, the choice that has to be made. You kill it or you don't. I'd rather have it retire in some kind of way, but not be completely gone.
Yeah, I think the retirement is what needs to happen for this to work. That way you can still tap into that old character's knowledge base. Whether they were a high-level crafter, you can still come back to them and maybe have them create something for you or whatever. They may not be able to go out and adventure anymore, but at least they're still there at your disposal for their knowledge base.
I think I'm going to be on the other side of you guys, and I think I would like to see, instead of my character dying or a retire system, I think my character should be reborn in a sense. I don't think we should be able to go back to those skills that we once had, or else it would just be easier and better to create a second character instead of retiring my first one. If it's going to mean anything, I think it should be that my character was reborn. That way I may have some of those crafting skills or fighting skills, but I'm never going to have anything like I used to. Otherwise, like I said before, it's probably not going to have any meaning.
Yeah, but it also depends on what those skills are. When I was reading the Facebook stuff, basically he kept saying it's going to be a very significant, tiny, buff or something. That why would I spend 5 months on working on a character for just something, for 20 extra hit points or whatever. Now, if it's an ability that I couldn't acquire from any other way, then maybe that would be worth being reborn or retiring and starting over.
Exactly, because it comes to the point as well, if it's killed off, and I think we just lost Merideus. No, there he is. If he's killed off, and like you said, you create a new character with entirely new spell sets, then that basically takes away the Progeny system as they're looking at it. Because the way I understand it is, if I've created a cleric, for instance, I've reached the max level, and I retire this character, I then have the choice to make an offspring, have a child. That would be a cleric. I can ultimately choose a different class to go, but then I would lose, obviously, all the benefits then. But the way I see it, the way it's meant to be, is you can create a new character and have this be a cleric generation number 2. So you would basically carry this character's abilities with you, and his spells and everything with you, and gain different abilities and stuff like that.
Well, interesting concept, and I think that's kind of where I think they might be heading, is that you're going to maintain those abilities from the previous characters, almost like genetics. You're passing down the genetics or the DNA, so to speak. But I'll say disclaimer for everybody: we don't know how the system's going to work, so I'll let you know that Visionary Realms has not come up with an actual final way this system's working. We're kind of speculating right now and kind of throwing some ideas out there and discussing the system. Everybody heads up. Not how the system works. We're just discussing it. Disclaimer.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Because the way we're going to have a look at it is, let's go into it, right? So how would I retire this character? Like, would it just be, would I reach level 50? I have the option to either retire him or carry him on and grind, I don't know, faction or AA with this character till I, can't be bothered anymore. But the question is, if I choose retire, what would happen? Like, let's say, for instance, now this character wouldn't technically die. How could we use this character to a point that would make sense to create an offspring and use this character in some kind of way? Let's go and touch on some of these ideas that we brought up beforehand. I mean, Kodiak, do you want to start it off?
Well, the whole thing about dying is, or basically this system versus just creating an alt is, if I create an alt, I can still play that other character, or I can still, tap into his resources by, having him, craft something for me or whatever. So by killing it and starting over, it has to be more significant than just keeping it as an alt, even if it's an unplayed alt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Because I think, the time invested in a character, a lot of people don't want to sacrifice all that time, putting it into one character and then turn around and go, oh, hey, by the way, guess what? God.
Yeah.
You have to have some sort of, reward, for making that far to a retirement system. Now, I think it should be whether you choose to retire it and continue to play on the same character. I think that's what it should be. It should be a choice, because that way nobody's penalized. So if one character wants to continue to play that character, they can. Or if somebody decides to kill their character off and see what the benefits are, then they have that option, so they make that choice. So that way nobody feels like they're penalized or forced to use the system.
Yeah.
Maybe going on that idea of player choice, I think what I would like to see in this system is not everybody who reaches max level has this system to them. I think this system should be something where you get extra abilities not because you got your character to max level, but rather because you did something very hard to do. I don't want to bring up other games, but I play Path of Exile, and they just came out with an expansion called Ascendancy. In Ascendancy, when your character's a high enough level, your character goes through multiple and a lot of trials, and in this game, probably bad grinding, and I don't want to see the grinding point into it, but you really have to work for your character to ascend, and in that game, you ascend to have a different branch of your class, but in Path of Exile, maybe it could be your character does something really important, like a really tough epic quest that could take maybe a month to do, and your reward isn't that your character died, but maybe your character sacrificed itself, and now when you make a new character, because you had to put a lot of work in it, maybe you can keep some of the skills that your other character had, even if you picked a different class or something.
Yeah. I mean,
I totally agree with that. I think that, like, if you, let's say you retire at 45, right? Maybe your bonus for that is a couple extra hit points or an armor bonus or something like that. But if you do get him to 50 and you complete the epic quest and you do all these, the 2 little path things and you complete that, then your bonus should be greater than somebody that just got him to 50 and then re-rolled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had because Merideus brought it up, talking about different games. I talked to DeLindsay last night about Hero's Song. And I was watching the video about it, and they had a similar, they were going for a similar kind of system with the Progeny System in Pantheon, but the way they did it was basically, your character could die completely at any given point in time in the game. What would happen is when you basically, your character died, it would wake up in the spirit world, and you would have to go through this spirit world and try and accomplish the goal to get back out, to be brought back to life. If they do go and say, look, you can retire your character or have it die, then another good way of maybe doing this is have your character enter some kind of spirit world where you actually go out and do, you have to achieve this goal, you have to achieve this quest and fight your way through it. And if you don't fight your way through it, your character ultimately dies. You create your offspring, you carry on with the new and everything, you get some certain bonuses. But if this character could be retired, because he made it out of there, you've made it to retire. So your character isn't technically dead, but it's not playable per se. It would live in your house or whatever, be the father of the child and whatnot, or the grandfather of the next child and everything, have wisdom, so you can come back and seek certain aspects from his journeys that he had. That would be a kind of cool system to look at as well. Make the use of either really killing the character, but make him have the chance to retire it, and use this character in a way where it's not playable, but you can still interact with it in somehow.
Yeah, I think we touched on that last night. We talked about, because it does say that they will have homesteads or whatever.
Hey,
so
guys.
Rather than killing your characters versus maybe they just hang out at your homestead. So,
yeah.
So that you can still see them, but you can't play them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, that'd be cool too.
So, Meridius, you want to read up the next question? We can't hear you. You are silent.
Lost my screen.
No worries.
When I retire my character, or will my character just ultimately die?
No, we covered that one. It's the next one we're looking for. What benefits?
What benefits will my child character have?
So let's touch up on that, because it was basically said by Pantheon in a tweet. that you could either, say for instance now you have, a warrior class and you retire this class and then you create the offspring off of this warrior, it would have certain benefits obviously towards the warrior class. That's the general idea behind it. And questions were brought up like, but what if I want to create an entirely new class or an entirely new whatever race and something like that? Is that possible? So you can technically create a different class and you would get minimal benefits for that one as well. So what do you think about this, guys? Should we be able to create an entirely new character and still get benefits, or should we not, if we decide to go a different route from the class itself?
See, and I think that, if your father was a warrior and you're a warrior, then you should have better warrior abilities. But if your father was a rogue and you're a warrior, you maybe should be able to bring some, maybe like he taught you how to sneak. So as a warrior, you now have the ability to sneak. Something of that nature.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Something maybe like, if your father was a warrior and you're a mage, maybe you're a mage with a higher health pool or something like that. Not significant, but something worth noting.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
I think that question was pretty easy.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy question. Dad, you want to read up on the next one?
Oh, which one is it?
What happens
how do you
if...
think the system should work?
Yeah,
what happens?
Yeah.
What happens if I decide to create an entirely different class?
Well, we basically covered that with what we just said now.
I would say, yeah, you could carry on like a skill over.
Yeah. So read up on the next one.
How do you think this system should work?
Yep, so what kind of benefits, how should they spread out the benefit? We kind of touched on it now with some of the answers we gave, but we can go a bit more into depth with that, like, because there's so much we can do here with how this system should work and what should be connected to this system, i.e. spells, character attributes, how this character can be, generally formed and everything. So I think we should touch upon that, and I think this one we're going to talk about a bit. Let's have a look in chat first and say hello. Merideus, your mic is quite low, so I'm going to try and turn you up in TeamSpeak a bit. Give me a second.
All right.
I hope that's a bit better, guys. Why would you want to retire a character? Is a question that's just been brought up by Karma Guinea in chat. So, anybody want to answer that question?
For me, a lot of the games that I play is like, I'm a Dark Souls player as well as an EverQuest Soul, and we call it Fashion Souls. I care a lot about how my character looks and how my character is presented to other people. I think if there was a way to show people that I've retired my character multiple times, maybe like a cool little icon next to my name or some type of Roman numerals, I think if they just gave me something cosmetic, I would want to retire my character and keep retiring it, even if I played the same class over and over again. So that's how I feel about it. I don't know how these guys feel about it, but cosmetic fluff is my thing.
No, I agree with the Roman numeral next to your name. I think that that's the only way to identify how many generations of character you are. But then that also comes to what's the cap? Grandkids, great-grandkids, whatever, in order to get the benefit of your ancestors.
Yeah.
Well, what if we did this? Now, you know how MMOs, EverQuest, people were getting married in game. So.
Yeah.
Well, what if we had it where characters, guild members or something like that became very good friends, and all of a sudden they combine their characters together to come up with their new class, character to play. So now you get maybe a little bit of a skill from that parent and the other parent, and you put it into your new class. That throws a whole another ball of wax in there too.
Yeah, it makes.
Yeah, but then people would just have two accounts, and then if they wanted to create a specific thing, they wouldn't even care about dealing with other people.
We could do what Landmark did. You're now down to one character per.
I think I think the way Merideus touched on it basically, or you guys in general, like having a rogue as your first class and then choosing to go a cleric. So now you could have a cleric that can sneak and do stuff, or you can have like a ranger that can fire off fire bolts or whatever because his previous character was a mage. I think that's the way to kick it, touch on it. But how much should be taken over to this character? How many benefits should he get? Should it be just like one major spell that is a beneficial spell, or should it be 3 smaller ones? Should it include certain attributes? Like I said, if I have a warrior, and we talked about that as well, and I create a cleric, or other way around, I have a cleric basically that is max level, and I create a warrior now. This warrior is going to gain some wisdom, because my main attribute would be wisdom. He might not necessarily need it that much, but it would still impact him in a certain way, because wisdom would impact me as a cleric with my mana pool. So he'd get more wisdom, but that would automatically impact his mana pool as well. So he'd have more mana, or whatever it is that he has at that point. And marriage, that's another thing we can still do. Not necessarily with real life people in the game. We could have like the housing system. There's going to be player housing maybe at one point in time. Put an NPC on there that is your technically wife or your husband, and through that you pick your you have kids, and then you pick a child that you want to be to take on your death or retirement and carry on for you. That's how I think it should be done.
Somebody you can shack up with.
Yeah. Well, technically, if I have a Progeny system, it only makes sense to make it kind of realistic, because I got the chance to retire or die, or both. Basically, I can die at the end, and I'm going to have an offspring. I'm not touching.
Come to what you're saying. I just had a kind of an epiphany here. Well, maybe in the housing system, you could include it in the housing system, or however they decide to implement the system. But I think your character has to get married. Get married to an NPC in the game, something to be able to have the offspring thing. I think just being like unmarried character running through the world, all of a sudden you have kids.
Yeah.
So I think there's got to be something to kind of set that off. So to start the progeny system, maybe they should have it where you marry an NPC or a guild member, whatever, then it starts the system for you, or they have specific characters throughout the world that you can marry.
Yeah, even Zeus and Poseidon and all those ones, they had, wives and whatever in order to create, new gods.
And
exactly.
And it's brought me another idea as well.
That would start your progeny system for you, so that's where your player option would come into effect.
Yep, and that touches on what I just had an epiphany with as well. Don't make it like you just go out and you go to the register and you get married. Make if they can kind of make it that it's worthwhile to retire your character, then make it a quest that is going to be epic, and it's going to be hard to achieve. Not everybody will get the possibility to retire his character, because not everybody's going to be able to do that. Yep, right off the bat, you're going to have to work hard to achieve it, and if you do achieve it, you're special. You feel special because you went and fought and bled for it. Yep, and you achieved something with it. I think that would help settle a lot of people's minds as well. If it was really made worthwhile.
Yeah, just by hitting level 50 doesn't give you that option. You actually have to go and complete something epic in order to pass it on to your children.
Alright, so I'm going to go and quickly bring up Carmagini. Only problem I see with the Chronicles of Alira is that if you carry something over each time, then at some stage you will become too powerful and new players can never catch up. Therefore the devs add a ready-made higher character. So why not wait till later to start to get a boost on your character? Just my thoughts.
I have an answer for that.
Go on then.
My answer to that is really simple. I really don't care if John Blow Schmuckatelli just started the game and all of a sudden he's behind. I don't care about him. He just started the game, that's fine. But let's not bend the rules and cater to him and sell him a level 50 character so he can go out and complete the quest, because that just screws it all up.
Yep.
He's gonna be lost no matter what, because he's new to the game, so...
Bingo. So this is an opportunity for him to meet and make new friends, because the way the system works now, like EverQuest 2, even EverQuest now, they allow you to buy a level 80 hero character, and it's like, okay.
Yep.
And the idiot comes in the game, he doesn't know what he's doing with that character.
Right, and
You know?
another thing as well, what we can do to kind of like, you know, not necessarily give in to these people, but we can benefit. You know, they can benefit from these retired characters. Give these retired characters then the possibility to, you know, become mentors towards the brand new people. So we can help them, you know, getting into the world, achieve their, you know, way of things. So they get maybe a boost from somebody who's actually retired his character. So depending on whatever level this character is, if Dow's now retired level 1, Merideus is retired level 3, and let's say Kodiak is retired level 8, depending on which one of these guys he picks, he will get, you know, a bonus. And
Yeah.
if he's with Dow, he's going to get a smaller bonus. If he's with Meridius, he's going to get a medium middle bonus. But if he picks up in Kodiak and Kodiak takes him on and says, yeah, I'll be your mentor and help you out a bit, he'll get a bigger bonus. And that way, this guy won't feel so lost, and we don't have to give in to this, you know, why is it so hard? I want to be able to go and buy a potion that puts me up to level 50, or, you know, get a retire potion, this, that, and the other off the store. Because that's not the idea. This is not where Pantheon is heading. Yeah, they don't want to give in to the masses. Yeah, Pantheon's going to be a hardcore game set out for people that are looking for a hardcore way of things.
Yeah, a challenge. Yeah,
Yep.
not a simple roll through and cater to me, you must, otherwise I'm not paying you type. I don't care. Just stay out of my game. I really don't want to cater to you.
Yep.
Well, I mean, is there really going to be a reason to, like, power level yourself? Because, I mean, the way Pantheon's headed is most of the enjoyment's going to be coming from getting to level 1 to 100, not all at 100 like most games.
Yep.
I do think that they should cap the thing too. Maybe it's 3 generations, or I mean, as far as, you know, being able to roll over abilities from your grandfather and your father. That if you have a 4th generation, maybe you lose the 1st generation, but you gain the 2nd and 3rd generation on the 4th generation, or something of that nature.
That kind of ding light bulb. Let's say, for instance, now let's talk about this. This is actually a pretty cool idea. Let's say they cap it at 3 generations, for instance, but it's a 3 generation, one after the other warrior. But if you now go and say 1st generation, 2nd generation, and 3rd generation stops and doesn't become a warrior, he becomes a cleric. So now that generation system resets. So you've got a 1st generation cleric, that's a 3rd generation character. So he can go 2nd generation, 3rd generation. Boom, he would have to go a complete different route. So you'd be, because I don't want to go and play, you know, a druid again and again and again. Yes, it's going to be interesting, it's going to be fun, it's going to be different, it's going to be new, but I want it to be spiced up a bit. So if you cap me and I've reached my 3rd generation character of druid, I would have to then go and create a crusader. And then I go and start off and roll with him, and I have 3 generations to do that. But if I stop anywhere between, it would, you know, basically be a 2nd generation. That's all I've achieved.
I think it needs to be capped at some point,
Yeah.
because if a player just continuously has an error, I guess, or continues to use the system, eventually he's just going to become a god, no matter how small the bonus is.
Well, that, and for new players that start after the fact, there's no way for them to ever catch up. But if you do have a cap, let's say, you know, 3 generations, then a new player, yeah, he'd still have to put his grind in, and it might take him 2 years to catch up, but he will eventually catch up.
Yeah, and plus if we could like become mentors, like we were talking about this yesterday. Let's say, for instance, now before I retire my character, you know, or before he dies, and we've gone through the spirit world, this, that, and the other, and I made it out to actually go and retire myself some way. So I live on my farm with my family, and I can see my grandkids, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. But I can go on one last journey, that would give me, I would become the Grand Master Cleric, the Grand Master Warrior. I would be, close to the gods. I would be a demigod. Yeah, I would be, almost on the same level as them, and I would have like special, ability, not abilities, but a special way of teaching people things and stuff like that. So we can, people are always going on about basically, well, new characters are going to have trouble, this, that, and the other, and people that spend time playing this game and this, that, and the other are going to be so overpowered in this, that. Yeah, well, then take that overpoweredness and give these people that are so-called overpowered the ability to help others. And with their overpoweredness, this person that's feeling so alone and lost and left behind, he can be pushed and he can benefit from it, and we can benefit, because you're always going to be looking for new people for your guild, for your raids, this, that, and the other, for grouping, for running around, and the game's there. It's called MMORPG, Massively Multiplayer Online Role-Playing Game. It means I want to go and play this game with hundreds of people. I don't want to go in there and be all by my lonesome and wander through the world and do everything by myself. I want to go out there and meet people. I want to socialize. I want to get into a guild. I want to talk to people. I want to have adventures with them and have fun and, have dramatic stuff happen to us and, have something to talk about over the years to come. And that's the whole general idea. So make it that we all benefit from people that are, they've spent the time and put in the effort to get to a certain point in the game, make them be able to give benefits back, and that would basically eliminate everything. It would eliminate everything. All these people's, well, what if I'm left behind? That would be eliminated.
Well, I still look at it this way. If you're like this, if you just stumbled upon the game, guess what? You stumbled upon the game. You're gonna have to earn your way up the way the other characters are. That's my opinion of it. Now, like, obviously making a mentoring system, that's great and all, that's cool. But ultimately, we better stay away from the, hey, we have to cater to this guy because he just picked up the game, so we gotta make it so it's easier for him to play. No, you don't. He's gotta learn how to play the game, just like we did.
Yep.
People don't make it to the top by getting things handed to them. They have to learn the hard way.
Yep, I mean,
one of the reasons why they do give the new players the easy route to the high levels is because the lower level zones are dead and it's hard for them to find a group. But by doing this system, it should hopefully populate the lower level zones by people running through, the second generation, third generation, fourth generation, and keep those lower level zones populated.
Yep. I mean, they don't have to necessarily give us the ability to mentor somebody from the start. What could happen is basically, if you have like somebody's reached that mentoring level, all of a sudden there would be a new NPC in the starting cities or whatever that you would have to go and find. It's not going to be told to you or anything like that. You're going to have to actually go and physically search for it. And if you stumbled upon this guy, he's going to tell you about these demigods, these special people that could help you along, and you have to go and find them and blah blah blah. Not just make us, you click your UI and go, right, I want to find a mentor, and that's it. I go and talk to him. Hey, will you go, Dow? You're a mentor. You're a demigod. Can you help me out? That's not how it should work. No. It should be kind of like, they have to, you're new to the game. You're going to have to learn and bleed exactly like we did. We didn't get there from the start. It wasn't given to us. We worked just as hard as you're going to have to work to get to that level. But we can help you along if you're nice enough. But if you come into this game and you're going to cry because nothing's happening, then I'm sorry, this isn't the game for you. Yeah? And somebody brought up something as well. Only way, let's have a look. He said, how about retiring a character unlocks a new class of said character at level 1, but a higher being as such?
That gets into the power balance, arguments and stuff like that. I think it should just carry over an attribute or some sort of crafting skill or something like that.
Yeah.
Something to that effect. I don't know, because when you start, the big thing is when you start mixing mashing classes together, then you start losing the concept of everybody's class being very important in the game. You know? So, I mean, because a lot of MMOs today, they've done this multi-classing crap where you can go to the skill tree and change out. Now you can become a warrior, cleric, druid, tank.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And now what do you got? Now you got players out there going, well, what the hell should I be a warrior then when this guy can heal himself and he can cast root on the mob? There's no point. No point for that player to play, and he no longer feels special. So you have to be careful when they go over that fine line, because then you're going to start mixing crap, and that's where all these other MMOs have failed, and they continue to fail, because I can play a game that within like a month I'm burned on the MMO because it's just like, whatever. Everybody's the same. We're all running through, hacking the crap out of stuff, and then within 10 minutes it's like, hey, dude, thanks for joining us. See you later. Goodbye. I'll never meet you ever again.
Yeah.
It's just stupid. You know, it's just dumb. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
I get called out in chat.
Well, I agree with that. You know, I don't want to turn every character into a god, and but at the same token, I'm not going to kill or retire a character unless the benefit outweighs the risk outweighs the reward.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then
I understand that. That's where we're getting in the risk and reward.
And then the question is as well, because we haven't touched upon this, we talked about it before the stream, like, but let's say I retire said character, but this time instead of me picking, you know, a female class, as I am called Yanila, so obviously I'm playing a female character. I want to go and play a male character. My offspring is going to be a boy. I'm not going to call it Yanila. Yeah, that's just not right. So it's going to have a different name. How can they, you know, get this kind of system to really work? Because that would cause, you know, drama as well. People trying to find you, they can't anymore because you're not called Yanila anymore. You're now called Khan.
Well, I think that all depends on if they do like what is it? Player accounts. Guild Wars does it where you have your character name, but your player account is actually what shows up as well. So like Snow Hunter is my email or something like that, right? And then but my character is Delancey, but everybody can find me under Snow Hunter because that's me.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter
like
what I'm playing.
a family name.
Yeah, or a family name, yeah, or a surname.
Well, it's like what they're trying to do with Landmark. Remember, in EverQuest Next, they were going to have that. You could have 10 Yanilas in the server, but you'd only have one Yanila Graumourd, because that's your last name, and that is an identity that is unique to your character. But you could have like 10,000 Yanilas and 10,000 Dows, and Merideus is running through the world, but your last name is the only one given. So that would be a way of you being able to contact, that player still. And then the question is as well, if I create a new character, will I still have all the friends in my list, because it's a new character and everything? Will I have all this, will the setup be all the same and everything, how I've laid out my system and everything? How is that going to work?
Oh, that would be easy. It's like EverQuest, you got INI files and stuff like that. You can actually transfer your friends list over there, so I don't think that's going to be a hard thing to do.
I think Guild Wars 2 does it the best, where it's just like your one account is everything. Even if you make a different character, you have the same guild, you have the same friends list, contact list, you stay in the same group if you're in a group or squad. So I like that system.
So Karma Ganesh asked it's kind of a personal question per se. He's asked, sorry about that, can I ask what pledges you all have? He went for the cohorts pledge.
Oh, I went for the $10,000 pledge. I'm sporting it, bro. I got a Mercedes. I'm just kidding. No, I went with originators.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting for Visionary Realms to contact me because I wanted to donate them $2 million, and nah, I've got the same pledge at the moment that Dallas. I have the Patrons pledge, but I'm currently in contact with VR to go and change my pledge to the originators.
I'm a bad person. I talk a lot about Pantheon, but at the moment, I don't have a pledge of any kind.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
Yeah. Yeah. I knew it was gonna come.
Here comes the hate.
I guess I'm just waiting for some more information about the game, because it was said in chat before about where was it? He said that all the games end up just the same, basically, and I want some more information to know that, like, this game isn't gonna end up the same. Like, we're not gonna see any of that bull in cash shops and stuff, and also waiting, you know, like everybody, every American at least, waits for tax time so you can pledge the highest amount you can, right?
Yeah, I think, and based on what I saw from the stream, the live stream that Brad did, the rest of the team, I think we're gonna have a hardcore game because the mechanics just there were like EverQuest mechanic, and they were dying in the game. And some people were, I don't see no corpse drags. Well, they were actually kind of cheating, so we wouldn't have to watch the guy run back for 30 minutes during the stream to get back to the main group. So of course they're going to use some dev cheats there to bring it back to the group so they can continue to show us a little bit more of the game. But I think it's going to be hardcore. Obviously there's going to be no cash shops because from what it sounds like, from what I'm reading, it's going to be a $15 a month subscription.
Yeah.
Which is fine by me because I don't want it to be pay to win.
Yep.
I want it to
Exactly.
Yeah, same.
I want to pay for content. You
Yeah.
know, that's ultimately what it is. I want to come down to is pay. Because I've always brought this up in the stream, and I'll continue to bring it up to bash some of those other people out there who are like, well, it should be free to play. How's the developer going to get paid? How do they keep the servers going? How do they maintain the servers? You idiots who want free to play, guess what? Money don't grow on trees. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kill you with that. You have to pay to play.
Yep.
It's pretty simple. You know, they got to be able to get paid, man. They have families, and they got to feed people.
I mean, look at these free-to-play games. You know, even the successful ones. Let's go and have a look at, let's say, Terra, for instance. So, ever since Terra came out, it's been level 65, or 60, and then went to 65. And for the last 3 years, it's been stuck at level 65. There is no level advancement because that would cost them programming time. They would have to input into their, you know, the programs would have to go and write all this code, advance this, do that, create content for it, this, that, and the other, and that takes time and money. And if it's free to play, then obviously they're going to try and give us other stuff to do, like add in new dungeons and stuff like that. So you're going to be stuck at, you know, the end level, and all you're going to do is advance your armor, get a new skin for your weapon, this, that, and the other, and that's not what I want. I want this game to advance everywhere. I want to see completely new content. I want to see my character have the opportunity to go and embark on new adventures and new possibilities to skill himself. And that's not going to happen with free-to-play on the regular basis. If I know that I'm paying $15 a month, I know that money's going to get put to good use, period.
Yeah, any other comments on the Prodigy system?
Yep. Let's go back and we'll pick up on the next question. How close to realistic terms should this system be? Meaning, as Dal already said earlier on in the stream, I'm not going to be single male character, die and have a kid. It's just not realistic. It doesn't work, yeah? We do not have the possibility to birth children as males. So how realistic, and you know, what kind of things should they bring into it to make it like function? What are your thoughts on that, guys?
This is where I was trying to say, like, I'm partially against this system because it brings in too many complications. Like, during my character's lifetime, I have to find a wife and then give it time to have a child and then find a way to give my stuff to that child. It would have been better if, like I said before, they made it to where instead of saying that this is your child, it should have been that your character's reborn. Like, there was a point where you found like an old god or something, or a totem or a shrine, and you basically sacrificed yourself. that would have made more sense because they wouldn't have had to create all this marriage system. And when you have your child, do you have to wait until it's matured, or are you going to walk around in a 5-year-old's body, or is there going to be some kind of magic? I think it puts too much stuff into the game.
Mm.
So that's what I think. I don't think that... I know that it's not going to be a realistic because it's going to put so many unneeded details into the game that probably would take too long to code and put into the game in the first place.
Well, this is a fantasy world too, so it doesn't have to be life realistic, you know, but it still has to be believable, regardless if it's a god ascending or a family, but it still has to be believable.
And plus, it gives you more depth to the game as well, because you're not just going to go out there and, you know, go through the quests, go through the raids, go through the instances, get your gear, craft this, that, and the other. You're going to have something on the side to do while you're doing everything else, because this is what's, you know, gotten me to the point where I can't be bothered to play any MMO out there at the moment, because it's the same old, same old, same old. You go to max level, you raid through the you go through the raids, you get your gear, you wait for the next expansion, rinse and repeat. There's nothing else to do. You've maxed your crafting, there's nothing else to do. So they should try and bring a few elements that we have in the real world, like, you know, don't just make me craft and have a level 50 crafter. Make this crafter have, you know, my crafting ability have a reason for me crafting. Let me have, you know, let me go and interact with the world itself, the environment, interact with cities with my crafting ability. Let me become maybe a crafting teacher as well, you know, because that can be touched onto the Progeny system as well, not just, you know, retiring your character, but you can, while you're going through the world and leveling, and you can't be bothered to go and do a raid today, or, you know, do the instance, or go out in the world, you don't want to really craft, so you're going to log out the games, no. But if I have an option to do something else, like, you know, take on somebody and mentor him, I get benefits from it, he gets benefits from it somehow, or whatever, you know, he gets to teach with me, and I get a title from that, you know, becoming a, you know, I'm the Throne Fast woodworker ministerium guy, whatever. So I got a higher title, so I'm an important person when I walk through this town. You know, people are bowing to me and going, "Hey, look, it's Janila, the woodworking woman." This, that, and the other. Give me other choices to do, and because that's what's just annoyed me about games. It's just rinse and repeat, and there's nothing else to do. So I get bored, I log out of the game. But if you give me something else that I could do as a sidetrack, that doesn't necessarily have to be done, but I can do it. It's an option. That would maybe keep me in the game a bit more, because we're all talking about hardcore games and everything. And with these hardcore games and the hardcore gamers themselves, a lot of these, you know, the old EQlers, a lot of it was based on roleplay. There was a lot of roleplay in this.
Well, I would have to say that EverQuest, when it first started out, okay, and that's the first starting years before it got all dumbed down and cheesed up and made so mom could play. You leveled slowly. It was grueling. But it was a fun grueling. It wasn't, because you talked, you interacted, you socialized with other people. You chatted back and forth about everyday things. It wasn't just about role-playing. Hello, I'm Joe Blow Schmuckatelli, the Sword Slayer of all, and welcome to Kithcore Forest. I'm going to guide you through. The leveling in today's MMOs are way too damn fast. They're way too fast. I hate bringing other games into this, but Star Wars, you know, Knights of the Old Republic, I was level 50 within the first 2 months of that game's release. Like, this is way too fast. Conan, Age of Conan, level 80 within 4 months, you know, of playing. It's way too fast. EverQuest, when I started out, it took me practically 2 years to get myself to level 50.
Mm-hmm.
That was awesome because it made you dedicated yourself to your character. You learned your character. You socialized with people. You got help. You went to different places in the zones. It was grueling because The mobs could kill you. You know, you could die in the middle of the forest somewhere and you had to go get your body. So you learn not to die because death is supposed to be penalizing. You learned how to play the game. You started remembering zones. You didn't need a map. You know, like they got now, in-game map. Oh, I need a map. No, you do it by memory, muscle memory. You start remembering the zones and where you go and what you did. You learn the game. Because that's what games are. You actually learn how to play the game to win the game, to beat.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about stuff that we've seen in MMOs now, where MMOs have skyrocketed to where you're level 100 in 2 months, congratulations, Joe Blow Schmuckatelli, welcome to the theme park, thanks for playing. You know? So that's where MMOs are losing a lot of places and a lot of people. Way too fast. Where you were going with that, they need to slow down the leveling because that gives them time to build content.
Yeah.
You know? Because right now MMOs is just too fast. It's a theme park, throw out some content and keep it going. You know?
Well, I just want to touch on something what Carmagan said. I understand what you're saying, but some players like myself are not worried with titles. I play a game hardcore to be known, and as a higher player, if I am just as the next spot, but they have a title, then personally I don't see the point. Right, I'm going to go and clarify. It's not just getting a title, basically. You would have benefits. You as, let's a said craft or a said, warrior that's, reached this certain point or interacted with the city long enough and everything, you would have benefits that could benefit your guild, for instance, or benefit, yourself and stuff. So it's not just going to be something that is a title, a cosmetic feel to it. You would get benefited. You would, it would give you and the guild a reason to go and actually interact and try and work on diplomatic stuff and touch on stuff that would, impact the environment. It wouldn't just be cosmetic. You're going to get a title, and that's that. And the next thing I want to bring up as well, because we talked about it yesterday, Kodiak, realistic terms. We touched on like the character creation with the Progeny system. Now, let's say we start off as a level 1 character. And once, he's going to be squeaky clean, have a nice clean face, clean shaven, this, that, and the other. His armor's going to be nice and shiny. He's not going to have any dents or bolts on it. And gradually, as you go through leveling, your character gets older. So, you'll be a level 50 warrior. You'll have scars on your character. You'll have dents in the armor you have, and this, that, and the other. Is that something you guys would, think is pretty cool, or is it a lame idea?
I think it's a great idea, but why we don't see it is it may be a little hard to put into the game when they're already trying to do so much.
I'd say it probably could be easy. I mean, like armor. Look at how you can change your armor in some games now, and all of a sudden your appearance changes. So I think what they could do at a certain level, all of a sudden the game trips over to another model, or not another model, but the same model, but all of a sudden the texture, it's coded, you can do it. But then all of a sudden it pulls up a texture of your warrior now with a gray beard and all that stuff and put on. You got scars on your face all of a sudden, They could do it, but that's a lot. That'd probably be a lot of work after, like post launch, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
Ultimately. But it could be done. It's cool. Yeah, will it give immersiveness? Yeah. It gives the Progeny system kind of more worth, I guess. I mean, because how deep are they going to go? They haven't released it. I mean, we're throwing around some ideas. I mean, so right now, anybody who watches the stream, another disclaimer is we're just speculating, sort of. What some of us have ideas, what we'd like to see, perhaps. But ultimately, we don't know where they're going with it.
Because technically, the reason I brought this up is, you could be identifiable throughout the world. I'd be in the city with my new character, and I'll be looking around at the marketplace, and I'd see all these old guys with scars and dents, or these females that have grey hair and everything, and I'll be like, oh, what's happened here? And that I'll get into contact with you as well. You know what I mean? I'll be the young guy going, hey, why do you look so old? You'll be like, well, I'm about to retire. What do you think? Look at me.
Your slayings of the Great Red Dragon up there at Thonefast. How was that?
Mm.
Well, let me tell you, son, back in the day.
Kodak, you've gone quiet, man. Anything you wanna say?
No, I'm good. I mean, I think we touched on everything.
Yeah.
The only thing is whether you can bring a character back from retirement or death
Yeah.
is the last little thing to discuss, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I think the aging thing, I can't remember what the name of that. I know it was the Chicken Chaser or whatever was the name of that game, where they had the aging thing. That's the only thing I remember about that game.
Mm.
Fable. That was the name of the game. Fable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That was in there. I think the aging thing could be a way. I just don't know. Has it been clarified if we're going to be able to see people's levels in Pantheon? Or are we going to have an attribute where it's like instinct or inspection? I forget what it was called in EverQuest.
Well, you just clicked on them.
Consider.
It was a con. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a con. Like
That con.
if they were red to you, or yellow, or white, or blue, or green, or gray.
So if it didn't show levels, maybe we could figure out like what that character's been through just from their
Yeah.
physical appearance.
True. It's a possibility, too.
Yep.
I mean, they can go all sorts of ways with this thing.
Yeah.
So we'll touch on the last question, and we'll let Merideus take this one.
Can I unretire my character?
So the general idea why we brought this question in, because we were talking about it before the stream and everything, is because let's say somewhere down the line after a year or 2 years and everything, you've reached max level, and then you retire this character if you can. He doesn't die, he gets retired. Now, somewhere down the line, they bring an expansion that advances you another 5 levels or 10 levels or whatnot. And you really liked that character, you know, you spent 2 years with it, you know, you had fun with it, it was different than to what you have now. Would there be, you know, is there a reason why you should be able to unretire it? How could this work? Is the general idea behind it? Should it be an option that we could have to unretire a character? So we'll touch on that, and I'll let Dal have the first thoughts on this.
To unretire a character. I think it goes all the way back to choice. Once you make that commitment to retiring the character, I think you're allowed to bring that character back. However, back in the role it was before you retired, I have to say that. Let me clarify that. You can't bring that character back to the role it was in prior, but you can bring that character back if you were doing the mentoring system, where like that retired character could go help, say, somebody in level 1 zone or level 2 zone, whatever. They could actually help, you know, that person in the mentor system. So you could actually bring that character back and play, but now that retired character is in a weakened state for that particular zone.
Mm-hmm.
So you take a zone penalty. You know, you can't cast a level 50 spell with this guy in your group. You're now back to like a level 1, so to speak. So that's kind of how I look at it, because once you make the commitment to retire the character, I don't think you should be able to go back. You know?
Yeah, nor
So
do I
you get-
think the benefit of, you know, because like you said, if you get that small benefit onto your next generation, is it going to impact, like by taking that expansion and going 5 more levels with that warrior, is it going to make the benefit that much better? I don't think so, you know.
Yeah. See, then and that's where you got, as a player, it's going to make you make a hard choice. You know, and once you make that hard choice, there's no going back. And of course, you're going to get those plays, I should be able to. No, you shouldn't be able to, because once you make that choice and you made the decision to go that route, then, you know, you're in for, you know, the ride. Should they probably give you up front what you're doing before you make that choice? Yeah, I'd say that they have to tell you, hey, this is the benefits of retiring your character, so you have that choice. You know? Don't just make it, you know, magically poof, now you're screwed. Maybe it wasn't such a great idea after all. But there's got to be some sort of benefit if you do retire it. That way you don't have your haters out there or your whining players who are going to be all upset because I shouldn't have retired this character and blah, 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 and I hate you for it. So to keep that minimum down of that, they should make it to where up front, this is what your benefits gained if you retire this character. So, that's my feelings, my thought.
Meridius, your thoughts?
I think... Really, I don't think you should be able to get it back. You sat down and said, I want to try a new character, and I want it to have this stats that this gives me. I don't think you should be able to just go back like a month later just because, you know, you didn't like it.
Yeah.
If they had to add a way for them to go back, I think it would have to be after a certain time period, and the character that you're playing now has to sacrifice himself. You have to get rid of this. You have to get rid of this character to bring this one back, because essentially you got rid of that character to try this character out.
Yeah, like a penalty, or take like a, say, 2 or 3 level hit penalty or something like that. You got to have some sort of penalty.
Yeah.
Involve some pain to experience for your decision.
Yeah.
You know? But like I said, if they explain up front, here are the benefits of this class of character, this race of character, here's the benefits you're receiving if you retire this character. So then it's up there in front of you. You know exactly what you're getting. So chances are you'll go with the choice or you won't make the choice. But if you do make the choice and then you decide later on, well, you know, I don't like that. I like to go back and bring my retired character out of retirement. Then you're going to take like a penalty of, you know, say 5 level penalty loss.
Well, they had something similar in EverQuest 2, where you could change your class, but you would get a penalty. You would basically be you would have to. It was basically you had to go if you was a Shadow Knight, you wanted to be a Paladin and go onto the good side of things. You would get kicked out of Freeport. You wouldn't be able to enter any city. You'd be in safe haven more or less, and you would have to go out and slaughter like 1,000 orcs for you to actually go and become then from Shadow Knight become a Paladin. So if they did this kind of thing, you would have to definitely get a penalty, and it would have to be a very tiring thing to do. It should take you a long time to actually be able to unretire this guy. Because it took him a long time to reach retirement, it should take you just as long to get him out of retirement. He's going to have to go and relearn some certain things if he is going to ever have the chance to be able to go and further on his journey to the next level cap and then retire there or whatever. Because it's all about basically when you retire him, you're gonna pass on his knowledge, his wisdom, certain aspects of him. So he's a first generation guy. Your second generation and third generation, they've picked up on stuff that the second generation has passed on to the third. But this first generation guy, he's stuck there. So and this could basically change out things as well, how it would impact the world, the character himself. So if you could unretire him, and after you've done that, he goes and levels the next whatever levels and retires there. It's going to create a complete new character. No matter what happens, he's gained the knowledge of level 50. Boom, ended there. He then comes out. You've created in that time period. You created, let's say, a cleric, warrior. But now what you've done is you've unretired this guy. He's made it. He goes out and levels. He's a cleric. Now you create a cleric and a cleric first generation again, but with different knowledge because it didn't have the warrior side to it. So that generally gives you, it's more realistic as well. It brings variance to how you're going to run through this world, and you can create a family tree with it as well. So at any given time, when you say, for instance, people want to look how well known you are, what you've achieved and everything, they can even have a look at your family tree and see what you've been doing, and you can create stories with that as well. You can create your own epic journey through Terminus, with your family tree and your individual characters, because it's always going to be a unique character no matter how you go and do it. That's why I personally would like to have the choice to unretire my character, not have him be dead, but unretire him somehow. But it would have to be a very hard thing for me to do, because that would bring a lot of variance into the system, I think.
So you brought up the family tree, and I kind of had my own question about this system, so I'm going to ask you guys, do you think that when we go into this system, our race is not going to be a thing? Are we going to have to stay with the same race the entire time?
See, that brings a whole another deal.
Well, I think... go on then, now.
I think the easier way to do that one would be to answer that. The father usually in genetics determines the sex of the child, so make the father of the child, the progeny, the determiner of the race. So whatever race you are, you're going to have to be that race. I mean, that's cut and dry. I think that's how it should stick.
Yeah, but then in order for me to switch races, I'd have to make a female character, and I don't want to play a female character.
Sucks to be you then, man.
well, you know, that brings up the point though. You've got the chance. You know, you're gonna be able to create more than one character. So, you know, if you want to go and play a different race, then create a new character. Create a new character and.
Two daddies, you know, you can make whatever race.
I mean, if you.
I mean, if you're gonna go that route too, but let's go this route. So, like I said before, like we go into the marriage system, you could take, say, this race of character on your account, because if we're doing a $15 subscription, I'm sure they're going to give you like an 8-character slot. Startup, like EverQuest did, or it was 6, I can't remember. But, so you could have, say, your warrior who's the Dark Mirror. Now you got your halfling cleric, all right? So now you could actually take and marry these two. All right, and now out of those two, you can choose what race you want to play, or whatever, you know, something like that. That marriage system, and you can tinker with the race thing. You know what I'm saying? So you can have a couple different characters on your account as different races, and whatever character you take to be the ultimate person, say the spouse, the husband of the class, and that one determines.
I don't think the race should matter, because like I said, if we're all gods, then our spirit can appear in any form.
It's all genetics, man. We just mixed it in a pot of stuff.
Karmagani has brought something up, and it's how about working towards, say, a guide system like the old EQ. A player must retire characters a set amount of times to reach the status of guide, and be given certain abilities that benefit new players. Gives a reason to keep players at a reasonable level, and adds an aspect camaraderie to the game. Just a thought. Actually, we talked about this yesterday, me and Kodiak, and we had a similar idea as well. That you know, having guides in the game is kind of what we were talking about the whole entire time with the mentoring. Is kind of like the same thing, what we were trying to go for, I think. And yeah, that's how it should be, basically. That's the general idea, that you become a guide and you have the certain abilities and benefits that you can give to new players. Yeah.
That you can still tap into your retired knowledge base.
Yeah.
You know, of your retired person.
Yeah.
Zones they've been in. You know, you can go back and ask them about it. You know, encounters. You know, whatever, crafting abilities, spells, stuff like that.
And the
you
way
might not be able to play them, but you could still access their knowledge base.
Yeah. And to get back to the what was it, your question with the family tree? The way I see it, basically, if you're going to go and mix races, then you should get penalties as well, because you did not start from the beginning. Because you're going to learn how to play this race. This race has certain attributes and certain abilities that only this race is going to have. The Dark Mirror can breathe underwater from the start because they're water creatures, and this, that, and the other. So you should have penalties. So if I have a Dark Mirror and I mix with a human, and I choose a Dark Mirror as my, progeny, but the human was the central figure, I've married a Dark Mirror woman, I'm not going to be able to, breathe underwater just because I'm a Dark Mirror. That ability is going to be taken away from me as a penalty. I would have to, go out on a quest or go and, do something that would give me this ability that I should have prior you know, from the start being a Darkmere. That's how I see it should be done. Otherwise, you know, mixing and matching, I don't think it should be done. You know, people should go out, and if you want to play a different class or race or whatever, then start a new one or give us penalties. Because you're missing out on a lot. Every journey is going to be different. Every race is going to have its own starting city. So your quests and everything, the lore, the story, and all the decisions you make are going to have a complete different impact than what your human character would have had. But if I can create a human hybrid Darkmere at level 50 and go out and adventure with him, with the expansion and everything, I've missed out on everything prior to that with that character race.
And that goes back to I would much rather pick a different race my second generation, because everything's going to be new that time around, because then you don't get stuck doing the same. If I have a human warrior times 3 and I've done the same quest 3 times over and over and over again, I'd rather have a warrior. Like, let's say you stay with the same class, but you do a human the first time, then you do an ogre the next time, then you do a Darkmere the third time, so all 3 times you've got 3 different experiences, but with the same class.
Yeah. So
my thought process behind that was really like, if we had to stay with the same races, it would technically mean, at least if we're going realistic here, that I would need to find another one of my race. And what if I'm playing someone like the ogre, who's not going to have the player base a human or the Darkmere do? It may be hard for me to find another ogre who's, you know, a female or a male, depending on whatever I play.
yeah. I mean, and then the question is as well, will all races have male, female? You know, will they have, you know, both genders? Because some races are out there that are only female or only male. You know, that's a...
the Darkmere with unisex.
Self-reproducting.
Hey, I'm a male seahorse. Hey.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting off subject.
Right, so have you guys got the forum up? If not, I'll link it to you. Because we're going to go through what some people said. I'm going to go link it in chat so you guys can put up the forum to this topic. And we're going to go through some of the thought processes from some of the players within the community and see what they have to say about the Progeny system.
If they have the same questions.
Pardon?
Emotions?
Yep, so I'm going to go and start off reading while you guys bring it up and everything. And I'm going to start off with Gord. And he says, it is a really tough call here. It would have to depend on what bonuses I get from retirement, as yet we have no idea of what types of things we get to keep. Is it standard? Do I get to choose? Do the benefits compound? If I get to choose what skills and abilities I get to keep, and if the stat boost I gain can be distributed by me, then sure. Even if I do not get to choose another method to make me do this, I have the bonuses compound. If I max one char and re-roll, then do the same a second time. If I get the stat bonus every time and extra abilities carry over, then I will also do it. If it's random or if it doesn't stack, then I probably will not. Unless the abilities we get to keep are class special abilities like Paladins, LOH, or Monks Faint Death. But overall I think I need more info on the system before I can confidently say I will surely re-roll my max level. At this point all I can say is that I think the system looks neat and promising, but if all I get out of this is a couple of stat points and abilities like Shield Bash or Taunt, then I am not sure this is worth it.
Yeah, everybody has their own thought about it. Like, okay, it's not worth it if I get Shield Bash.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I said, benefit has to outweigh the time or whatever. I mean, you don't work your job to quit your job and start a job at McDonald's. You know what I'm saying?
I think a lot of that's going to be it, but I was going to read something that I personally think is probably the best one on this forum, and they bring up, as a guild leader, I'm a little worried guilds would be in flux with rotating characters in and out and having to re-gear, re-key people, which can slow down overall progression. And I'm pretty much with them, as if we're looking at this in a guild sense, it's this system might mess up a lot of guilds.
Yeah.
Well, and I read also in there the same thing with the guilds is that some guilds might not even recruit you unless you're a third generation.
Yeah,
With
that
the
too.
benefit, stuff like that, you know.
So they don't have to worry about that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna bring in some
And then you
And
got
if they don't cap the generations, then the raid content, you know, has to be harder and harder and harder, or they'll be able to 3-man, you know, a 12-man raid.
yeah. I mean, it's like Dow's, you know, said throughout the stream. Disclaimer: this is all speculation, as there is no real info about how it's going to really work. We do not know, but you know, it's something we still have to talk about, and that's why we chose this topic, because it's an interesting thought process, an interesting idea they have, but it should be talked about because it's not something. I mean, it's similar stuff has been done before, but they want to create something really special and new and, you know, next generation, and it's something that can go really bad really fast, or it can turn out to be great, but it has to be talked about, because they might see, you know, a way of doing it, but they'll be blindsided from the business side of how they want to do it. And this is why we chose to talk about it, because, you know, bringing in ideas to this might open up their minds and give them a different thought process on how to handle things, because it's not easy, because this impacts a lot of systems within the game. Like we talked about abilities, attributes, spells, races, classes. I mean, as you can see there, we have now 5 different things that are going to touch onto the Progeny system automatically. So it's not an easy thing.
Here's a good one. It talks about faction, right? So if your dad was,
Yeah.
let's say, you know, what is the highest level faction with a certain race or whatever, because you're his son, they automatically love you.
Yeah.
Know?
yeah. I mean, they could go a lot of different ways with this, or you know, different benefits and perks with it. But ultimately, it's gonna have to come down to balancing too.
Yep.
Make sure it's not super crazy powerful and, you know, crazy stuff like that.
So I'm going to bring up.
It seems to be a hot topic because, I mean, there's over 4 pages on the forums and
Yeah.
130 different responses on Facebook and numerous Twitters and, you know, whatever. So it seems to be a very hot topic.
Yep.
I wouldn't doubt it. A lot of people are worried where it would go.
So I'm going to bring up another one from Spider Optic. He has two ways of looking at it, because they were talking about basically retiring the character or keeping it on and doing AA. So he has 2 viewpoints, and it's player A wants to retire their character for bonuses and doesn't mind going through older content again. Perhaps they are the type that enjoys alts. They level up and eventually begin re-gearing their character with these extra bonuses. This still allows people to be flowing into lower level zones, helping new players, etc. The people who are looking to do this sort of service would be able to do so and get bonuses for doing so, although this isn't my style of play. I did recently try to go back to EverQuest, and the lower zones were pretty empty in general. I remember many years back the tunnel where people would hang out and trade, it was so empty. Has it been mentioned if the retirement bonuses is a percentage of existing stats or a flat bonus, compounding bonuses each time, or base bonuses stacked onto each other each time? Is there more advantage to retiring a high AA, high geared character, or are the bonuses hard set? I'm also assuming the retirement may only become an option at a specific level. If not, are the bonuses preset based on retirement level? Would you have a rekey for zone access? Do they regrind faction? Player B wants to stick to one character. Would AAs be a viable option for this person to be comparable to somebody retiring their character, assuming AAs make it in when this system is in? This player may not mind grinding their AAs. That is where I fall. I personally want to build my character over many years, the specific character I started with, and generally not want to have many alts. I don't mind grinding AAs and progressing them and gear over the years. I would be pretty depressed feeling obligated to killing off retiring my character identity just for bonuses that an AA system could otherwise also achieve in a different way. Now obviously somebody who retired and grinded AAs would surpass, but the player grinding AA over the long haul would simply have more AA because the retiring player would be starting each iteration with the player having more retiring bonuses getting stacked on.
I think it's because of that maybe Pantheon could have done without this system, because they do have to say, like, okay, we have to make this so when people decide to retire their character, they get something worth going through the level again, which could take someone a year or more. But at the same time, it has to be fair to someone who doesn't want to waste all that time on another character. So overall, when it comes to balancing, it's going to be really, really tough.
Yeah.
Yep. The Progeny System, it brings up a lot of questions and a lot of different other systems that they would have to toy with, and I'm just wondering whether it's going to create more work for them in the end.
Yeah.
You know?
And to top it off, basically as the last talking point, we're going to take Carmagini's other general cool idea. Now, how about getting 2 characters to max level, male and female? Then you could mate, have a child that it has a mixture of both skills, again hard work mechanics wise, but it's been done many times like Rift. Now this is something that I think could maybe work towards the Progeny system to make it have more sense and everything. So for you to be able to create a next generation character, you would have to level up 2 characters, and then male female, retire it, and then have a son or a daughter off of that. That would make more sense. Obviously it's going to be a lot of time, a lot of work you would have to put in there, but that would make it special as well. You actually spent the time, took the time. You wouldn't have as many people having the 2nd generation, 3rd generation, so they would be special, and that would make them unique as well. I think it's
if they take it to the Progeny System and if we implemented, say, Carmony's idea there, right, for this
with multi-classing.
Yeah, you would definitely have to make it to where you have to work for it. I mean, because right there we're getting back to that balancing and what skills would transfer from those classes over to mixing those. They would have to definitely study what are the benefits and not overpowering the character at the same time, but also not taking from the group play aspect, and taking away the special abilities or the specialness of that player and their class, So it comes down to, one, it comes down to a lot of balance. 2, how much work do they really want to put in the system? Because there's already games that are using systems like this. Is it really new? Not really. I mean, are there different twists to it? Yes. Can they make a better twist, perhaps? Probably. But that's where they have to decide is how much work do they really want to put into it, and how long is everybody going to wait for the game to actually come out? Because they're a small team, so they have to be careful and balance how they're going to eat on this one.
Yep.
Ultimately. So.
Yeah, this is definitely a system that I could say they could put to the side for now, because as far as we know right now, it's going to take us quite a long time to level our characters in the first place. So none of us will be worrying about this system for probably the first year.
Yeah, at least first year or 2. Yep.
The way I would use it.
Yeah, hopefully. And I hope Brad. That's what Brad does. Is I really seriously want it to where it takes a while, because the progression, like we were saying earlier, it's just way too fast. People are progressing characters to level 100. Woohoo! I made it. Within 3 months. I mean, that's not fun.
I would.
You don't build those bonds.
We talked about that last night too. The having maybe 5 mini dings before you actually ding a level.
Yeah.
Yeah, the horizontal.
Yeah, so that way you can still progress your character, but you're not actually going up in levels. That way you stay in zones longer. You are able to group with people for longer periods of time, stuff like that.
The way I would use this Progeny system, because you guys brought it up, it went click. this is something they could totally push to the side and use as something, you know, like you know, the new AA system and everything. You know, every time an expansion came out, you got something new to do, and that's the same thing with the Progeny system. They don't have to have it from the start. They could use this system and offer it as an alternative route to go at a later stage in time. When they do a next expansion, they could bring in the Progeny system, so now you can go and retire this class and go a complete different path with it as well. So it brings you know, options that are later available to you. It's a new way of skilling your system.
With expansions, rather than going from like 50 to 60, they do another 1 to 50 zone, but it's only for the children.
Yeah, stuff like that. That's how they could use it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could ultimately, yeah, you could do it that way. I mean, there's so many ways it could go with this. You know,
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting.
So I think that kind of like wraps up the show for today. So I'm going to let Kodiak have his closing statement first. Kodiak, hit it.
I think it could potentially be an amazing thing, but it's just too early to tell which route they're going to go. But it could be cool.
Merideus?
I'm gonna go with what I said before, and this isn't a system that we need when the game launches, and save it for something when we know that there's not going to be an expansion for a year or two. Give us that so we have something to do until that expansion. Keep it as like an extra sword for their arsenal, but otherwise I don't really think we're going to need this system for quite a while.
Dal, closing statement?
Yeah, I have to agree on it. I mean, I've kind of talked myself out of the Progeny system a little bit too. It's like, you know, we really don't need it right now. That would be something post-launch, expansion material, because ultimately they need to be concentrating on the actual game itself, you know, building the game and getting it out there for us all to tinker with and have fun with. So I'd delay the Progeny system for something down the road so they have more time to think about it and they can contribute more resources to the actual building the environments and all that for the initial release portion of the game.
Great. And all I can say is I agree with Meridius and Delinzia and with Kodiak. Leave it. You know, it's a great system, great idea if it's done right with the, you know, time given, and they don't have an expansion coming out like in a year or 2 years. You know, that's something they can touch on and just, you know, bring out this system. It's definitely interesting. It's not new per se, but it's an interesting system, and it would give us something different to do than go and level again for the next 10 levels and go grading and go in the, you know, get the gear and everything. This would be something completely refreshing, I think, if people didn't have to, you know, instead of having expansion basic how we normally have, you have this Progeny system updated. Now you go out and adventure and do, you know, have the choice to go kill your character and have an offspring. Boom. Bring something different. Yep. So with that, guys, thanks for joining us. It will be uploaded onto YouTube, so you can rewatch it, or if you missed out, you know, let your friends know if they, you know, that the show's out there. We now have an additional person that's going to be joining us, Meridius. He'll be doing shows maybe with Dow or with me only, or with us three and everything. So you know, expect to see a lot more from us in the future for sure.
Yep, thanks for joining us, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep, it's definitely been fun.
So with that said, then take care, everyone, and you know, watch out for our next show. Bye.
See ya.
See you later.